Serato, virtual DJ. Finally, after a few months, I've made a choice. Now, back at the end of 2018, I had some pro virtual DJ friends tell me, give this a try, give it another whirl. I had told them some of my experiences that I had with virtual DJ back in, I think it was like 2013 when I was initially trying it. I wasn't overly impressed, and I was just looking to just jump into something, and I had gone to Serato and had used it ever since. But my friends had convinced me, give this a try. We've been very happy with it. So I had my Newmark in a 7.3. I was doing virtual DJ, and I did that for about 7 months or so. I tested it in the lab for a while behind me. I did it at a number of weddings during that period. And there were a few quirks I had to work around. Not everything was perfect, but it was enough where I was happy with some of the additional features that I had. Well, that unfortunately changed at the beginning of June. I dislocated my shoulder, and I decided to go back to my old mixer and 2-deck style. In this case, I was about to do phase and my reloops, and I just wasn't comfortable enough with the constantly run battery-powered time code at a wedding. Especially, you get some of these really long weddings that I tend to run into. I was a little concerned about running into that, and I was like, what? I always appreciated the Rain 12s. Let me dive into them. And they were very similar in functionality to my old Denon SE3900s. So I got those in. I immediately were testing it, and I only had a day between getting my 12s in and my next event. But I was like, what? Let's just dive into this, trial by fire. So I got to the wedding, and I ran into a couple issues that I had noticed during testing. One of those being this kind of wow and flutter. If you ever listened to some warbly tape back in the days, it had this kind of just oddball, just wasn't a consistent sound coming out. And I always thought that the virtual DJ sound was just a little hot, a little bit more compressed than Serato, but I was generally happy with it. It still sounded really good. It just didn't sound quite as good as Serato. But now with this new oddball inclusion of this, and it was occasional, it wasn't just this one-time kind of thing. It would be sometimes after 10 minutes, sometimes after 2 hours, and then sometimes it would go away. So I ran into that issue. Another issue I had not had realized, and honestly, I haven't tried this out with my Newmark NS73 to see if the same thing happens. In theory, it should. But when I'm doing auto mix and transitioning between songs, my platter on the 12s would slow down ever so slightly, and you hear it, and then kind of pick back up each song that transitioned. And I hadn't really noticed it with, again, the Newmark NS73, but for whatever reason, this seemed much more noticeable. So I kept on, trying different, was it a BPM changeover? Was it something else? And every song, it was noticeable, and you could see it right on my my quartz LED light indicator, looking at the dots, and you would see it, you would slow down really quick and pick right back up. And there were a few other small oddball things that the 12s did. I ran into this one issue. If you lost power to one, I simulated a power loss because I'm always in disaster recovery mode. When that happened, the other deck would lose its assignment. And then if you didn't assign that properly, things would get a bit wonky. You would have to turn them both off, turn them back on in the sequence. And I tried that in Serato, and Serato was fine if one of those conditions had happened. So at the end of that wedding, I had 1 week to decide. Do I stick with virtual DJ, deal with some of the additional headaches that are going on? Do I jump back over to Serato? And if I do I stick with the external hard drive, deal with some of the larger load times and all that? Or go to my my internal SSD. And a couple things that changed since the last time I ran full internal. My hard drive's actually even smaller than before. I opted to work more with external hard drives for things like video and all that. They were just getting really large with some of the shoots and content that I was doing. So I was like, what, let me just work on externals for that point. So to save some money, I got smaller drives, and that got me like a better video card for my my everyday, and then my gig laptop. I saved a good few $100. MacBook Pros are not inexpensive. So with all that in mind, I took that week, I did a few experiments, and ultimately I decided, you know what, Serato is tried and true. I worked with it for years. I know it works really well with the 12s. And I'm just going to go ahead, let's dive back into that. And I did a couple experiments with the external versus internal, and ultimately I went internal again. But this all really brings up a really interesting question. Should DJ software be a hardcore library management platform as well, or should it focus on performance? Now, you know, Rekordbox, Engine from Denon, you know, of course, Virtual DJ, Tractor, and of course Serato, you know, everybody has a kind of little bit of a different methodology for each. Virtual DJ definitely goes more into file management than pretty much all the others. Rekordbox definitely has more guts for file management, although it's lacking a lot of like the tag information that I personally need. I gave that another super quick whirl. There's no way I could use it because it wasn't going through all the tags that I need. So it really came back down to a Serato versus Virtual DJ question. But ultimately, I had built a system long ago to, you know, worry about ingesting music, to keep things lean, try to keep the duplicates at a bare minimum, and then just manage my larger library of, you know, all my full albums and everything secondarily. So now, don't get me wrong, Virtual DJ, I was really impressed for everything that it does. There's absolutely no piece of software on the market that's as customizable as that. Virtually any you know, deck, virtually any controller, any mixer, this can be controlled by it, and there's so much finite adjustments that you can make and all that. It's an extraordinary piece of software, and especially for controllers, there seems to be very little issue with that. It seems the major issue that I'm personally running into is when we're coming with motorized platters. But you know, in the end, you know, the critics be damned. You have to use a software that you're most comfortable with. If it does the job that you need it to do to better, you know, your capabilities, to better your craft, then that's what you use. I don't care if you're still using Scratch Live or, you know, modern Serato DJ Pro, if you're using Tractor, Virtual DJ, Rekordbox, DJ. There's just a lot of different applications out there. Some people have found comfort in others, and, you know, if it works for you, rock it. Well, there's a video, and I hope you liked it. And if so, definitely hit that thumbs up, click subscribe. I can't emphasize enough, please click subscribe, ding that notification bell, and if you really love content like this, check my Patreon page and subscribe. And, you know, if you love videos like this and want to see more, you know, there's a lot of content below for DJs only and others. Check it out.